within a half mile of the school. When you go on the website, which I strongly recommend, that you register your email with the police department. That way, if we did it on a laptop here, I could show you all the different facets of this website. But go on it. It's chicagopolice.org. And if you register your email address, they'll send you periodic community alerts where you live. So it's a very good thing about the program. Now, and this, anybody can take off. You can take off any information from the website. It doesn't have to be the school. It could be anywhere that you live in the city of Chicago. And the second sector is the registered sex offenders that live around this school. So again, that's a map. It shows them where they're at. We use this as a guideline for a lot of schools that have parents that are walking their children to school. If there's a concentration on a certain block, we strongly recommend maybe that they maybe alter their route or just be alert to that factor. Again, you can get this off of the website. Now, some of these, and like I noticed around this school, there's no photos. This could have been people that lived around here that were transferred out of this area or that moved out of the area. But if you're very concerned about sexual predators, sexual offenders, registered sex offenders, the greatest website is the state police one, statepolice.org. You can actually click, all you do is put in your zip code, and it gives you much more in detail. It gives you the exact address where that person lives. It also tells you why he was incarcerated, what he did, at the time that he did it, when his sentence was over with. So you get to know a little more about it than the police website. Okay, so that's a very good one, the state police website. Any questions on this at all? And surprisingly, this area here with the reported crimes, that's a very low number for a 2-week period. And a lot of them are mainly on because of the main street, Cicero. You get a lot of action on that street. So it shows that this is, a residential neighborhood. There's less reported crime, so people are pretty much alert on that. In some of my neighborhoods that I do this, especially in Hispanic neighborhoods, when I show them this, and I don't see that many calls on there, and I know it's a tough gang area, a lot of times Hispanics are very fearful of calling the police. They, from tradition, they're fearful of deportation, everything else, their retribution from the gangs. So we have to make another approach to them, to try to learn how to get the crime reduced in your area by actually calling. Because what they do statistically with this, by the way, is that the CAPS program, the lesser number of calls reported to an area, then the police assume that there's less crime there, so they're going to readjust their forces. So, and I tell you, if you see something, you got to call, because the more people that call, even now that you're starting this bear patrol, if you notice things out there that you don't like and things like that, don't hesitate to get this information to the police department. And you don't have to even call. When you go on the website, you'll actually, there's an email address for each district. You can shoot that email to the district, and what works well about that is that you can really give them some information for fear that something's going to come back on you. And then they have to respond to your email. They can't just slough it off. A lot of times people get discouraged. They make a phone call, the police never come, half hour, they're still not here. They get discouraged with the system. There's a checks and balances with this system. It works well. It also, when you go on the website, it gives you some good phone numbers that you can call too. If you're not happy with what's going on. And we're going to talk later about Andrew goes to the CAPS meetings for this area. There's CAPS meetings, and they're once a month. And what I tell the parent patrollers is that once you start a program at a school, you're going to start noticing things that you don't like, that could be fearful problems like that. Write them down. Bring it to somebody. Should bring it to the CAPS meeting, because the CAPS sergeant there, his name is Sergeant King, at this meeting, he has to, if you give him a concern, he has 1 month to address what the police are going to do to respond to that. You might not like what you hear from them, but they will respond. They have to respond. So the CAPS meeting sort of like, it's a model that they have to respond to your concerns, and it works well if everybody goes along with it. Okay, so these are just a couple points on this thing with the CAPS with the questions. And then once we get started with this little training, it's all common sense. Everything is nothing. The materials that I passed out to you, we're just going to cover some of the information. Just good practices that other schools have done. And this video was one school that we did at 55th and Tallman, and still in the 9th district. This little pamphlet that we all got, that's just the mayor's letter endorsing the program. It just tells you about what CAPS and other issues.
You know, my brother-in-law goes to little village high school, and they have whenever I drive up there, there's like 20 parents out there every day.
Yeah, they're
making sure the kids are behaving. And
that's a neighborhood watch program that is funded. They're paid for doing that. All the no wonder this. Many years ago, Paul Vallis, when he was a superintendent, he got some federal money and he started that program with paid volunteers. And it was great. It made our job very simple. Every school had 4 or 5 parents. They were paid. We got them uniforms. They had jackets and everything else. And like any federal program, the money dried up. And there was a backlash for a few years where these parents saying, well, I'm not going to do this if I can't get paid. So that's sort of like when we went to direction, no, this is strictly voluntary. We're not, we can't offer you anything.
So how is that one still paid?
That one is because they got another grant. The high school's got a grant that they're funded. The Safe Path, the thing that you're seeing now, it was expanded. Each school has 8 to 10 parents that are paid $10 an hour for 4 hours a day. Tilden High School, yeah, right, exactly. So.
Well, I guess that's probably cheaper than having the police over there.
Yeah,
they don't have.
I
think they have one police officer there in the morning, but the thing is that high school is 4 high schools at once. So it's a lot of different groups coming in. A lot of kids who don't know each other and stuff. And everyone wants to school, so it's very interesting.
Do it. I said, well, Tom, I said, well, we'll be here next week. So I had no preparation. These parents were out there anyway. So the only preparation we got is that on that day I had a couple of policemen come.
Okay. We do have kind of a.
Okay.
Are you ready, Angie?
Yes.
To get gangs, guns, and drugs off the streets of Chicago. Police, the public, and city agencies working together for a safer city. These are the stories of those committed to the future of our neighborhoods. What are police and your neighbors doing to make Chicago safer? Well, you do. I'm Peter Carl, and this is Chicago Crime Watch. Getting children to and from school safely, that's the goal of a new CAPS initiative called Safe Passage. The program has already seen positive results. The cold and snow doesn't stop the parent patrol at Tallman Elementary School from making sure kids get to school safely. They're out every morning and every afternoon showing a strong presence in the neighborhood.
They're sending a very strong message that this is our neighborhood and we value these young people, and we're setting the example to show you how we value them by giving up an hour before school and an hour after school to ensure that they're safe, to ensure their safety.
The Safe Passage Initiative began at the beginning of the school year. The Chicago Public Schools identified 38 schools that were a priority for promoting safe passage. The CAPS Implementation Office then expanded the list to include almost 200 schools.
The goal is very simple: get community individuals to work with police, to get community-based organizations, including clergy and parents, to look at providing safe passage through parent patrols, through having safe havens, and just providing routes to and from school.
Hampton says the aim is to get responsible adults in and around all schools. The more adults that are visible, the less likelihood for violence or other incidents to occur.
And we recognize the more responsible adults you have out in the neighborhood, the more neighbors begin to work together. The bad guys, the people who sometimes want to give you the impression that they take over a neighborhood, they'll run, they'll move on.
Principal Jacqueline Medina says some of her students walk between 8 and 12 blocks to get to Tallman, and some cross through different gang territories. She says having more adults out on the streets makes the students and parents feel safer.
Just by knowing that there are parents, walking around, or standing in a corner, or standing in a piece of building, they know that if they needed to, even from a distance, run someone down, they know they can cry out for help.
We are outside. We make sure that every kids get safe. So when the parents came to drop off their children, they know that there will be parents outside waiting for them, so they can get safe to their cars.
The Safe Passage Initiative is a comprehensive effort. Part of the plan includes a community canvas. On this snowy morning, after helping get kids in school, the Tallman Parent Patrol hits the streets and starts knocking on doors. The canvas includes a 2x4 block radius around the focus schools. They let residents know about the Safe Passage program and ask them to join the effort.
Either joining a parent patrol, but then also, if they can't, they can simply look out, step on the outside of the doors, and be aware that the children are going to school safely, and they put window signs in their windows.
During the canvas, parents are also handing out information about beat meetings and block clubs. It's all part of the comprehensive approach to safe passage.
Today they were out there canvassing, and then now they're going to be becoming part of block club training. So these parents, now that they start to understand all the other programs that CAPS can offer them, they're expanding it.
I get the impression just watching the news that we don't understand there's a lot of good people that are out volunteering for their neighborhoods. So that's why we're doing this so simple. So thank you.
So far, the CAPS Implementation Office has covered about 60 of the focus schools and will work the remainder of the school year to finish the rest. Hampton says already we're seeing more parents getting involved, more block clubs being formed, and higher attendance at CAPS meetings. And the weather, that won't stand in the way.
Miserable day, but what does this do for the community to see people out canvassing on a day like today? It lets the young people know, and the community at large know, that they value this school, they value the young people, they value everyone involved, and that's a very strong and important message.
If you're interested in getting involved in the Safe Passage program, contact your district CAPS office. Here are some of Chicago's most wanted fugitives.
All right, so again, that's what that school did with as far as the setting up a parent patrol. Now, a couple positive things that you noticed in that program. Of course, we had the police there. Now, you as a group, if there's a concern around the school, the police department has a police sergeant, school sergeant, that's responsible for all the schools in the district. And he also has a separate group of police officers that are usually assigned that to the high schools. But if a situation develops, they can bring them over and correct a situation around your particular school. The 9th District also has a bike unit. We brought the bike unit out that day just for more or less to help out in doing this. But that was going on, like I said, before we came there with the video. It wasn't just a staged event. As a matter of fact, that school is still going with their principal dean is still there, and there's still different parents, of course, but they're still running that program. Now, what you noticed also from the parents is one of the ladies asked me about recruitment, getting the area, maybe getting more parents involved. A lot of my schools do this. Once we start a parent patrol, I'll come back with them. We'll pick right after the arrival of the students. We'll get together, maybe have some coffee, and then we'll go out around the school in the neighborhood, knock on doors, and ask the parents, who's ever in the house, if they would put one of these signs in the windows, reminding them to watch out for the children walking to and from the school. So that we use the parents from the community because they're more receptive knowing somebody there and things like that. Now, every one of you has one of these signs, but what we do require, and you've all signed in on your sheet, is that anybody that we give the signs to, we take their name and address, we keep that in record at my office, but it's also a check and balance with them registered sex offenders. I mean, one of my sessions at a school in the Inglewood area is we were making this presentation, and we passed out the sheet, and all of a sudden one gentleman in the back just got up and walked out. Well, he was on the sheet. So he saw his picture there, and well, of course he can't be part of the program, but it's sort of like, it's a check and balance that we use. It's not much, but it sort of like helps us to know who has these signs. I don't go to a meeting and just give a group of these picture signs, or take one off the desk and go out and do it. We need to tell the parent or tell what this means and what we're looking for and what we're asking them to do. So also, I think you noticed that the parents, that drop-off zone was sort of good because once we got that established, we went through a lot of work. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, getting a drop-off zone. You notice there's cones out there. We have the police that day, but anytime you do something out of the ordinary with a school, it requires who's going to set the equipment up, who's going to bring the equipment back. You can't just go out there, set the things up one day, it looks good, and nobody starts returning it. And anything that you have something like that, you got to have adults out there too, because drivers, if they don't see anybody around it, they're going to go around the barricade, they're going to move the barricade, they're going to park there, and it's going to create more of a problem. So besides doing anything that you do, you have to have adults out there identified too. Again, once you start any kind of a program, we want you to wear the vests. The vests are very important because a lot of times the cars can't see you. But also they don't know who you are. And it works well because some of my schools, the parents that are pulling up and double parking, and if they see somebody walking with a City of Chicago vest, they think it's revenue. Boom, they're quickly to move their car. So they're going to move their car, they're not going to park in this area there. So without saying a word, the area started to clear up. It makes cars driving by, if they see somebody in the vest, they see somebody with authority, are more careful. The children see you with the vest on. Adults walking around see you with the vest on. They identify you as somebody there that's there to help them. So it sort of makes a calming effect in the neighborhood, in the area that you're standing out there.